What's up everybody on YouTube? AJ Russ back to discuss another video, and today we're going to be breaking down the second video in my NBA 2025 playoff series, talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers and why this isn't the same old Cleveland Cavaliers. Right now, with 10 games remaining in the regular season before the playoffs, the Cavaliers currently have a 58-14 record, way ahead of what they were last season as a 4th seed in the Eastern Conference, as they had a 48-34 record, and we all know that they lost to the Boston Celtics in the conference semifinals last year in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But it really goes beyond that, because if you look at the whole season of the Cavaliers in a nutshell, they've had 3 separate winning streaks of 10+ games. The first winning streak, of course, they won 17 straight games at the beginning of the year. They had a 12-game winning streak. They just came off of a 16-game winning streak here recently in the spring. And I know a lot of people might point to their recent 4-game skid as they lost 4 games in a row, but that's a combination of players being out and just, I think, that roster getting prepared to be healthy for this playoff run that will start next month, that we will see in April come to fruition. And this team is genuinely not the same. 3 All-Stars, Evan Mobley. You can make the argument in many cases that he could be Defensive Player of the Year, having a great year. Darius Garland, after dealing with injuries in the past couple of seasons, this season he's had a great emergence and a revitalization in his game. Him and Donovan Mitchell being one of the best backcourts in the NBA. I think you can easily say that they are the best backcourt in the Eastern Conference, but that will probably come with some argument, but who knows. But the record doesn't lie, and they're gonna be the 1st seed this year in these Eastern Conference playoffs. Something way different than last year. We know the dominance that the Boston Celtics had last season. We saw them play each other in the playoffs last year, and I think that even this year, for example, which we'll talk about later, if the Cavaliers were to lose to the Celtics then in the playoffs, which we would like to see this year as the Eastern Conference Finals matchup, but if it's entertaining, goes at 6 to 7 games, I think we can't complain about the Cavaliers losing as long as they lose in a competitive fashion. That would be an honorable loss. But I think that this team is even way better considering the new regime change and the head coach of Kenny Atkinson, who you can make the argument is Coach of the Year, but it'll probably end up being JB Bickerstaff, who was the former coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers last year, who saw that they needed a change. But beyond that, in this video, we're going to be breaking down why this Cavaliers team actually stands a real chance, why they can make the finals, and why they have a chance to really win it all. And of course, we're going to have more teams that we talk about, more contenders, both on the Eastern Conference and Western Conference side. We have a Western Conference team that we'll talk about later this week as well on the channel. But if y'all haven't checked out my Oklahoma City Thunder playoff preview that I posted a couple weeks ago, go check that out. And in this video, of course, we're previewing the Cavs, and we're going to really be breaking down why this team potentially has what it takes. And before we get into the video furthermore, Donovan Mitchell in his 3rd season with the Cavaliers, we remember all the speculation, of course, before he signed that contract extension, if he was going to potentially ask out and all things like that. Well, we saw that after that happened, it really just seemed like a new camaraderie hit this team, and they've been taking off ever since the season has started. So I think it's really not necessarily now or never, but if this season the Cavaliers were to lay an egg, lose in the 2nd round, or, you know, get blown out by the Celtics in the conference finals or something like that, not making the NBA finals or losing in that type of fashion, it's not necessarily them not making the finals, but it's them laying an egg. I think that no one would ever take them serious again, and we have people like Patrick Beverley.
And Cleveland Cavaliers do it.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Why?
I just feel like no one's afraid of them. I just feel like no one's afraid of them,
Who have talked trash about this team, not even considering them as serious contenders, which I think is all the ammunition and motivation that they need. So I think that we will see an inspired Cleveland Cavaliers group going into the playoffs, but I will elaborate more on this in the video. But with that being said though, guys, before we dive deeper into this Cleveland Cavaliers breakdown and playoff preview, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe and turn on post notifications. You know we post about here videos about the NBA, NFL, Marvel, DC, pop culture, all things of that nature. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SwaggyRuss, and also on TikTok at SwaggyRuss02 for all types of videos, shorts, recaps, things of that nature. And with that being said, let's get into this Cleveland Cavaliers playoff preview. Amaze, I would say, from each of these players' individual stats. For example, Donovan Mitchell averaging nearly 24 points per game, shooting 44% from the field, 4 rebounds, nearly 5 assists. That necessarily isn't even his best numbers in his career. Even last season, point back to that, he averaged nearly 27 points per game. But I think the key difference with him is that he's been able to defer more, and they have more weapons. Like I mentioned in the Darius Garland, he was also an All-Star this year. Him and Evan Mobley, all 3 of those players, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley, they were all All-Stars this season, but they definitely didn't have the most impressive stats, but that's not what matters the most. What we've seen from this team is a diversity and the depth that has been able to impact this roster. I mentioned the trade they made at the trade deadline around them trading for DeAndre Hunter, which is going to be really integral to this team into the playoffs, guarding players like a Jason Tatum in the playoffs if they play against the Knicks, a Jalen Brunson, or even the Celtics again, Jalen Brown. Being able to switch and have that type of versatility as a 3-and-D 3 or 4, he's a huge part of their roster going forward, and players also off the bench who have been integral in their scoring, like Isaac Okoro or even Ty Jerome, who I think is one of the most underrated pieces in the league in terms of what he adds to this roster, but just in general. And also, of course, I failed to mention in the intro, Jared Allen, who has been one of the best defensive big men for the past few years, and many made the argument that he should have been an all-star this year, and I don't blame you if you think so. But this team just has a lot of depth, and even having a veteran presence like Tristan Thompson, who's won championship with the Cavaliers nearly a decade ago, through his 3-point shooting, really just the depth. Like I kind of mentioned with the OKC video, the Cavs, they have weapons that can help offset and complement their starting guys and their key players and their star players that can help them have depth and efficiency in the playoffs. But if you look at their advanced statistics, it backs that up offensively and defensively. They have the best offensive rating in the league. Their defensive rating is 7th of 30, and their net rating is 2nd of 30 in the league as well. They rank 2nd in pace, up there with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Their points per game is also 2nd, and their opponent's point per game, they rank 10th in the league, so they have one of the best defenses in the league as well. So overall, offensively and defensively, they provide the versatility and diversity/depth that you need to contend in the postseason over what they were last season. And if you look at their stats compared to last year, specifically in the playoffs, which I think you can't measure too much, especially in the Celtics series, because we know that they were overmatched, it just makes a real difference. And like I said, the emergence of a player like a Ty Jerome, in many ways, I compare him to a Peyton Pritchard type of impact that he has had on this roster this year. We all see that Peyton Pritchard on the Celtics, he might mess around and win 6th man of the year this year. But if you look at Ty Jerome before this season, last year he only averaged 2 points per game. Along with that, only 7 minutes per game. It's clear and evident that Kenny Atkinson has valued Ty Jerome and his ability as a shooter in his offense as well. He's shooting 50% from the field, and 3-point range, don't get me started, he's shooting 42% from the field as well. So I think Ty Jerome, he has been really integral to this team, and he's gonna be that type of player off the bench and at times that can play with the starters that will provide the shooting versatility and guard depth. One of the best backup point guards in the league too, that the Cavaliers need to be a key fixture in their rotation in the playoffs in those key minutes, and that's what's gonna help them as well. You look at a guy like Max Strus, who we all know from his days in Miami was an electric 3-point shooter who can get hot at times. He's averaging a little less minutes per game this season, but still averaging around 25 minutes per game and less points. He's averaging really 9.5 points, but still his efficiency is still there. He's shooting around 37% from 3, which is still a high volume and percentage for the volume that he shoots from the 3-point range. Like I said, he is a high and electric 3-point shooter, and I think he's going to be a guy that you can kick it out to from Darius Garland, from Donovan Mitchell, that'll be able to provide some key minutes in the playoffs as well too. I guess it just depends on their defensive matchups as well, because trust me, that makes a difference too. But like I said, their defense is still one of the top 10 in the league, so if they're able to hide him at times and still provide him for a good scoring boost that they need, then he'll be another integral player into this system. But really, beyond the role players, which of course is going to make a huge difference, we gotta bring it back to the top with Donovan Mitchell. And the real question throughout his career, when he was a young member of the Utah Jazz and now being a part of the Cleveland Cavaliers, can he be the #1? Can he be the best player on a championship winning team? And I think that question is so fluctuating, and really we're gonna see the answer to that this season, because like I said, last year a lot of people would have told you no, especially how they finished then. They made a coaching change, bringing in Kenny Atkinson. A lot of people didn't know what to expect this season from them, but the Cavaliers, like I said, they've been amazing. Right now they currently have a 58-14 record. Clearly they're gonna win 60+ games this season, but now we're really gonna find out what they're truly made of in the playoffs. And the sentiment of this video being, you know, premised around why these aren't the same Cleveland Cavaliers is that a lot of people aren't taking them serious. I mentioned what Patrick Beverley said about them not being a real contender, and that same type of disrespect goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder as well in the Western Conference. A lot of people aren't taking them serious, especially how they lost in the playoffs last season, if teams truly fear them. But I think that this regular season success, it's twofold, because we see a lot of teams like this, yes, like in the NBA and NFL at times too, make these type of dominant regular seasons and then wet the bed in the playoffs. But I think that in the NBA, and always in the NBA for the most part, really I would say 90 to 95% of the time, the best team always wins in the playoff series. And I think that this consistency from the Cavaliers, but also in ways for the same way the Oklahoma City Thunder, you're gonna see that in the playoffs too, that it hasn't been for any reason. Despite a injury or something like that, I genuinely see the Cleveland Cavaliers making the conference finals minimum, and we're gonna see them, most likely see them play against the Boston Celtics in the conference finals. Because let's be honest, guys, yes, the Knicks, they've been consistent throughout this year. Obviously Jalen Brunson has dealt with an ankle injury recently, which I think is gonna really derail them. They might mess around and lose in the first round if they play against the Pistons in the first round, but that's a conversation for another day. But bro, it's a 2-race horse in the Eastern Conference, and we know how strong the West is, so there's gonna be a lot of discussion there. It's really up in the air in the West, because we know how things go. A lot of people might point to, you know, of course the Thunder being the favorite, but like I said, a lot of people also don't believe in the Thunder. But for the Eastern Conference, it's really a 2-horse race between the Cavs and the Celtics, and that's what it's gonna come down to. We've seen the Celtics, you know, they live and die by the 3, and I think that's one thing that's gonna really benefit benefit the Cavaliers, because if the Celtics are living and dying by the 3, and if they're dying by it, shoot, the Cavs, they can take advantage of that. Donovan Mitchell being the facilitator at times that he is, and same with Darius Garland, with Evan Mobley being the dynamic shot blocker that he is, but also how he has transformed his game offensively this season. Him averaging nearly 19 points per game, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, shooting essentially 57% from the field, but at times being able to make a pick and pop 3, shooting 31% from the 3. So that's not the greatest percentage, but still at times he can make them when wide open. So I think that Evan Mobley's versatility, being able to even facilitate himself too, I think that he makes the Cavaliers even more dynamic with his development and him being an all-star this season. So with the Celtics being streaky at times, that holds into the Cavaliers' favor, and it really just presents itself being an opportunity, a real opportunity for the Cavaliers to not only win the Eastern Conference but make the finals and win the finals. And at that point, I think people would take them serious, because if they can get out the Eastern Conference, then yeah, we're seeing that. But that shouldn't be the goal. Like I say in all my videos about major contenders, who cares if you just get to the finals? It's about winning it all. I will forever continue to emphasize that, for real, in every single video I make when I talk about winning a championship. But considering what I also said about Donovan Mitchell being a #1 and being the best player on a championship team, if you look at the playoff stats that he averaged in a 23-24 season last year, he nearly averaged 30 points per game in those playoffs too. So we can probably have a safe assumption saying that he's gonna have an uptick in his numbers and make the most out of this situation, because if you look throughout Donovan Mitchell's career, yes, I know the Jazz, they had a #1 seed at one point in the Western Conference in his career, but no one really believed in that team to be a real championship contender. They made the conference finals, I believe, in the Western Conference too, but like I said, no one really believed in them being a real championship contender. I think it's safe to say that this is the best team that Donovan Mitchell has been a part of so far in his 7-year career to this point. And with those stats last year as well in the playoffs, he had a true shooting percentage of 58.4%. From the 3-point line, he also shot 35%. So I think that he really came to ball in those playoffs. So if we have any semblance of those type of numbers, him averaging nearly 30 in the playoffs this year, especially against a team like the Celtics, trying to will his team to the NBA Finals, I think that it's not controversial at all to say that we could be seeing the Cavaliers make it to the promised land and have a chance to win it all and win their 2nd championship in franchise history. That's a lot of ifs, and like I said though, this team has been consistent throughout the year. When you're able to pull together 2 different winning streaks over 15 plus games, like I said at the beginning of the year and most recently, and they also had a 12-game winning streak, and I know they lost a few, but with 10 games remaining, we know that they're going to finish off strong, probably, most likely, and at the end, probably with the last couple of games, probably rest their starters, or just continue to try different rotations to see how they want to mix things up in the playoff series and things like that. I think it's safe to say that this is the Cavaliers team that we're going to be seeing soon, and it's going to measure a lot. And I think really it's going to be too much to predict right now who they play against in the first round, because we know the potential play-in scenario and how much that fluctuates throughout the end of the season, seeing the teams that finish in that scenario from 7 to 10. But when we see who they play against in the first round, in the second round, and obviously we expect them playing against the Celtics in the conference finals, we're going to see what this team is truly made of. If they are truly contenders, if the 60+ win Cavaliers team has what it makes to win it all and to finally lead Cleveland, a small market team who has notoriously been recognized as a city that doesn't have the most stuff to do, doesn't necessarily attract the most stars, but they've attracted and adopted a winning culture this season that has been unexpected to say the least. But to the team, it's not unexpected at all. They have a chance to do something special, so only time will tell. But y'all let me know in the comments down below. Do you think that these are the same Cavaliers? Do you think that this Cavaliers team actually has a real chance to win it all? And do you think that they're going to beat the Celtics and beat the eventual Western Conference champion this year to win the 2025 NBA Finals? Y'all let me know in the comments down below. I appreciate you guys watching always though. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Follow me on, like I said, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SwaggyRuss, and on TikTok at SwaggyRuss02 for cooking videos, all shorts, reels, things of that nature. Like I said, more of these NBA playoff recaps are on the way, guys. Stay tuned for the next team that I talk about. I didn't want to reveal the team until the end of the video, but I will be talking about the Houston Rockets, a team that I personally covered, being here in the Houston area and also working for ESPN Houston. So that's going to be a cool team to talk about, of course, and also sharing, some of my experiences and, locker room footage and content and media that I've got too. So stay tuned for that team that we're going to talk about next, coming later this week and weekend. But yeah, guys, y'all be blessed. And I really didn't know if I was going to talk too much about this, but I'm going to be very short about it, guys. I had a little break between videos because recently on March 16th, thank God first and foremost, but I was involved in a car accident, and I'm not going to go too much into that, but I did break my tibia and fibula, and I'm not going to be on camera for a while. I mean, I'm excited to be able to walk in. Like I said, I thank God for being alive, but I'm going to continue to post videos. And right now I thought I was going to take a break until April, but at first I wasn't going to make videos, but I was like, nah, man, I have to continue to create content, especially continuing the NBA playoffs starting soon, and of course also the NFL draft starting soon, which we're going to have some prospects and things to talk about there too as well. I've really gotten my bag and educated myself on learning prospects and learning a lot about draft boards and just the NFL draft overall, and just learning more about that. So we're gonna have content regarding that as well too, guys. But I just love making these videos. I love creating content. I love interacting with you guys, so we're gonna continue to do that. that it's been a tough process for sure. It's been different navigating, getting around, but I thank God for being here, being still alive, and being able to move. And, you know, there's purpose to everything. So God kept me in this accident for a reason, guys. And I know that, you know, this is an NBA video, so I don't want to be too long about this, but we're going to continue to have more content, guys. So I just appreciate y'all. Know that God is good. He loves you, whether you have a relationship with him or not. Jesus loves you, guys, and truly know that. And we are all here for a purpose and a reason. So y'all be blessed. I love all of you so much. Thank you for always watching my videos. Y'all be blessed, and y'all have a good one, and stay tuned for more content. Yes, sir.